Hi, guys and gals. It's here we are. This is Lou Martin, and I'm thrilled to catch up with my spirit brother across the water in the beautiful green hills of England, Miguel, who I got to meet last year online and then in person at Amrita Melchizedek's conference in Glastonbury for the solstice. Miguel, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. And yeah, it's a big question, isn't it? If we're going to answer it accurately.
Take your time. Take
Yeah,
your time.
yeah, yeah. I'm good. I guess what's really alive in me now. Where am I right now? And I'm going through it feels like a real integration process. I tend to see everything just seems to be happening through the lens of the kind of union, integration, dance of the masculine and feminine for me these days.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between this place where am I spectacles or not spectacles? It's kind
you're fine either way. We'll take it either way.
It's probably quite a good metaphor. I'm kind of like in between. I'm sort of in this kind of in between sort of space, and
we can make spectacles of ourselves, Miguel.
Yeah. yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm in this in between space where I'm. In a way, it's kind of like the end of a sort of like a 10-year cycle or something for me.
Sure.
Of some real deep work around the childhood trauma and mother wound and all that energy that was going into trying to find a woman to complete me in order that I didn't have to go to those dark places within me where the feminine wound was still bleeding, kind of thing,
Yeah.
So having finally come to the end of a 3-year sort of journey with let's call it a twin flame relationship, which I decided to step away from. And on New Year's, I've actually moved out of cohabiting with her on New Year's Day. It was like, okay, this is a good time for new beginnings, and it's and it really feels necessary, needed. So I stepped away from there, and the first thing I realized was that there was no, for the first time in my life, there was no trauma woven into the the grief of separation, of disconnecting with my lover. And so that was just like, oh God, Lou, it's hard to explain or describe, when at the end of every relationship had always been so woven into this terrified, despairing little boy that was grieving the loss of his mother.
Yeah.
So this time it was different. It just felt like a clean, just grief of a relationship in the moment,
Yes.
I
mean, Miguel, so for people that don't know your story, and I loved your book, and this is the first time we've chatted since I read your book. You were kind enough to give me a copy at Glastonbury, and I passed it on to my lady there. We both loved it. But so your mom passed at the age of very early. Was it 4 or something?
It was earlier, yeah. I was about 7 months old when she went. Yeah. And that, and then I lived with my auntie for a year, while my dad, after the death of my mom,
right.
And then I was separated from her when my dad remarried.
Right.
So I kind of lost my mother, for the second time.
Yes.
And then my stepmother gave birth to her own child with my dad a few years later. And there was another sort of separation. Yeah, the trinity of the mother wound kind of thing, like before I was 5 years old.
Yeah. Bless you. You started it off with a bang, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't tend to do things by halves.
No, clearly.
Yeah. I kind of, I sometimes say, I think, before I incarnated here and the teacher was kind of like, sort of letting me know what was going to happen. And, are you sure you want to sign up for this mission? This is what's going to happen. I don't think I was paying attention. I think I was looking out the window or something, like, I just
Sure.
said, yeah, whatever, like, I'm up for it. Let's go for it.
Sure. Sure.
So,
But can I just say, my friend, it's what you shared there, that I mean, I can relate to some of this, Miguel, that you're able to leave a relationship of a few years and move out without re-triggering all that early childhood, loss of the feminine, the mother. Yeah, that's an amazing achievement. You have a lot to be proud of there. That's all the work you've done on crying and grieving and making peace with, that part of yourself, isn't it?
yeah, thank you, Lou.
Yeah,
Thank you for acknowledging that. And
I've
yeah,
got one of those too, you see. So yeah,
yeah. Well, I believe that it is. Yeah, with that last relationship with this amazing woman, it was the first time that I really chose. There was a deep commitment when I went into that relationship. Before that relationship, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not, running this pattern of grief, of the little boy, of the neediness, of the controlling, of the addiction, sort of like cycle. There was a deep commitment, and then I made a pledge and said to the universe, bring it on. Whatever I need to do, I am ready now. And so,
that's how
yeah,
it happens, man. Bless you.
yeah. And
No.
so it happened. And yeah, my partner kept triggering me. She kept leaving me, emotionally, physically, shutting down. Sometimes she would leave, and every time I just really stayed with it, and was able, for the most part, to see the grief and the despair and everything that came up every time she did that was a gift, and that I could thank her, and that I could, just kind of stay with that pain, as, not perfectly, but I stayed with it pretty good. And, until I was able to just feel it and purge it and release it all without projecting it, for the most part onto her, just really seeing and knowing, this isn't about what's happening now. This isn't about her, and there's no good being pissed off with her or angry with her. It's a gift, and this is purging. This is doing the work that you asked for. This, Miguel, and this woman, came into your life as with the because you read the book, with the recurring theme throughout it of bring him home. It was just like awesome, really. She kept hearing these voices saying bring him home, and she didn't really know what it meant, and I clearly knew what it meant, and that is what she has done. I mean, I believe there are always deeper levels of coming home, but it feels like she's, I'm kind of pretty much home to 0 points. That's where it feels like. It's like, okay, the past is pretty much cleared, and I'm just, and that's where I am right now. I'm in this place of integration. There is still a pull in me that wants the attention of woman, and yet I am still, I'm kind of resolute that no, I'm not going to suckle any feminine energy externally. I'm kind of sealed myself off so that it will just come from within me, from the divine, from wherever it really needs to come from.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear you say that, my friend, because that's all I know about these things at this point. I mean, we all tend to make relationship our higher power, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes consciously. And we think, well, I'm a man, so I don't have feminine energy. So I can't nurture myself or be gentle with myself or be intimate or, give myself pleasure or whatever it might be, and you're right. I mean, that's all I know is that I have to open that door. And I mean, I've had my journey through grief as well as we all must, especially men on this path who grew up pretending to be John Wayne and Robert Redford or whoever it might be. And, more power to them. But we're really integrating. You started with that word, and I deeply relate to it, Miguel, integrating the feminine of sensitivity, compassion, gentleness, you know, whatever we might associate with those energies, with being a man and with feeling our feelings and with learning to meet our own needs as well as to support other people in our life without it being mutually exclusive, you know, without holding each other hostage, I think is the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can so relate to that. And it's really validating to hear you, yeah, just speaking those words, because it, you know, I keep myself to myself, you know, on all sorts of levels. I'm not buzzing around social media very much, or you know, I don't read books and so on. And, you know, I've chosen, it just kind of chose me for a while, that everything that I need to know arises in me mostly when I'm walking the land, when I'm with her, with the, you know, with Gaia, in Gaia. And,
Beautiful.
you know, I'm a firm believer that life is the workshop, that everything that needs to, you know, everything that I need to learn will be presented to me in my day-to-day life, in what arises.
I'll have to quote you on that one. That's a beauty, my friend. That's well said. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just seeing now, actually, this is a new insight that's just arising through the beauty of this connection with you, Lou, and this sharing, that,
Thank you.
you know, I mean, where I physically am right now, I'm living, when I moved out with my partner, I came and lived with there's this lovely old lady, elderly lady, she's 84 years old, and we met on Facebook a few years ago.
Right.
And she's too old to get up the stairs in her house. So she'd said for a while, you know, she'd often said over the years, you know, if you ever want anywhere to come and stay, you'd be really welcome to come and stay with me. And I'd appreciate the company. And I don't like having the upstairs of my house empty.
Right.
So I moved in with her, and the idea was it would just be for a little while, you know, but she's had the water pipes went on her boiler, and the kitchen floor had to be dug up. And then she got really ill. So it's really interesting because there's that theme for me, that the feminine, the divine feminine, always takes care of me. If you like, my mother is always there. The mother is always there, and this space opened up for me to, you know, to move into. And then since she's been ill, she's been really ill. It's given me the opportunity to drop deeper into my feminine. I'm nursing her. I'm caring for her. I'm having to lift her, you know, onto the bed, and, you know, and just kind of like basic stuff of, you know, even, you know, around, you know, going to the loo, just emptying, you know, things, and sort of you know, cups of tea and bits of food, and going shopping, and just being that gentle, kind of mothering her and nursing her. And I've only just seen that now. That's another, you know, it's another invitation from the divine feminine for me to access that feminine within me, to drop into that, to, in many ways, I guess, to be that which I never had, to be the mother that I never had, you know?
Well, I could just lay down and weep right here, my friend. I mean, that's just so beautiful. I mean, I'm proud of you for rising to that challenge and for accepting that invitation, because, again, brother, especially with men, that's not always comfortable, easy, or even possible for a lot of men to be that giving and that nurturing in such an intimate and caring way. My mom passed, you know, 1994. And she needed a lot of looking after in the years before she passed. And so I made a lot of visits to her at the homes that she was staying at, which was quite moving, because there's just so much intimacy that happens, as you know, when people are this defenseless and vulnerable.
The vulnerability, isn't it? That there's such a deep connection in vulnerability.
Yes, yes. So because of the experience with my mom, I wound up being a live-in caregiver myself for like 3.5 years.
Right.
So I had many lovely moments, which you're experiencing now, of poop on the floor and, you know, throw up and all sorts of lovely caring for people above and beyond the call, you know?
Yeah.
taking him in and out of the tub and looking after the meds. And, you're the parent in that situation. And it's very deep. It calls the deepest part of us to the surface.
Yeah. 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 I'm feeling rather emotional myself right now.
That's why I had to, I'm like, oh my God, here we go all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, wow. It's just so awesome. Like I say, that life is the workshop, that everything that we need in order to step into our fullness, to be our greatest possible self, arises. It's gifted to us when we just go with the flow, and we allow, and we trust. And yeah, I guess that's another thing that's really present for me at the moment is, the end of that relationship, the stepping away, which was a massive thing for me, because it was me saying no. In stepping away from her, it was a no. There was a no to her, but there was a big yes to myself. There was a big yes to my own inner union. And there was also a kind of realization as well and a deeper acceptance of, Miguel, stop trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You, my friend, do not do conventional life. It's not gonna happen.
Yes, brother. It still isn't weird enough for me, is my quote from Hunter Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it ain't gonna happen. So there's this, I'm also sort of, sinking, resting, deepening into that knowing, and allowing that, and just that life seems to be inviting me again, I guess, from this feminine stuff of just to drop deeper into being, into just being present, into just trusting, allowing life to, I mean, we'll perhaps talk about this a little bit, but I'm going on to my Divine Union pilgrimage in a few weeks. That begins, and beyond that, I don't know. I have no idea where my life is going, or what is in store, or where I will live, or whether I will. There's a part of me that feels I might just end up keep walking. There's a bit of me that just wants to live with a little rucksack and wash feet. I've got this thing about just doing feet blessings for people, for pilgrims. Yeah, there's a bit of me that feels really attractive. So
Yes.
I really don't know where life is going, but my trust in that it will be exactly the right thing, and this letting go of the man stuff of, I have no home, I have no, I have no property, I have no investments, I have no, all that stuff that is supposed to define us, especially as men, and just allowing myself to be okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I salute you, brother. I mean, there isn't a hair's width of distance between the two of us as far as I can see. I mean, my story here is I've lived in this home for 12 years. And before that, I was on people's couches and in my car and renting one thing after another and sleeping in offices. And it was just insane, my whole adult life until I came here. So my angel is my housemate, who's a mentor and a landlord and a dear friend at this point. And he's on his spiritual journey fully and deeply. He does the family constellation therapy, and I've done his one-day workshop just under 40 different times now in the 12 years that I've been here.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, it's like dancing with who shows up and seeing where it takes us. But I also want to say that this Santiago de Compostela, that's dear to my heart as well. I have a shell here on the stairway from my friend who went on it. And The Way, have you heard of the film The Way, Martin Sheen?
Yeah, I did. I have seen it. Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
I've seen it like 10 times. I watch it every year.
Right.
Yeah, I've met Martin Sheen in LA, and he's one of my heroes. He's an extraordinary guy, and he and his son did the film together. And as you know, it's about a dad losing his son, which is his existential crisis, and searching for his faith. on the way there. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's a powerful initiation that surely it is going to inform your journey deeply. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited about it. You know, and again, it just seems so divinely orchestrated, because the Camino that I've chosen is the Via de la Plata, the Silver Road.
Okay.
Which is, it's not when I looked at the Camino Frances, along the sort of north coast-ish of Spain, that is the most sort of common Camino, it didn't feel right for me. It was too busy and too touristy. I wanted a bit more solitude and a bit more. And so when I looked at the other Caminos, there's a Camino, the Via de la Plata, that runs from Seville in the south of Spain to the north to Santiago. And so that Camino, only 3% of the pilgrims that walk the Camino walk this one.
Wow.
It's kind of like, it's called, they refer to it as the toughest. It's 200 miles longer than the northern Camino. It's 700 miles.
Wow.
But the most amazing thing really is that it begins in Andalusia, which is the province of my birth mother.
Oh.
And ends in, wait for it, and
Right.
ends in Santiago, which is in the province of Galicia, which is where my father is now.
Oh, there it is. Of course. Yes.
Couldn't make it up, could you?
Right. Exactly. Wow. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So I shall end. I start at the birthplace of my mother, and I will end in the house of my father.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. What a great gift you're giving to yourself to do that and to be able to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And it feels like such a, there's something, I don't really have the language for this. Lou, my spirituality is pretty grounded and stuff, but there is something about clearing the way and clearing the energy for the collective because it feels like the consummation of my divine union, of my marriage, of a kind of a closure, something. But in doing that, and in me being able to have trod this pilgrim's path, there's a sense that it just flattens down the debris a wee bit for those that come behind me, just as it is as clear as it is arising for me by those that have gone before me, that have done this journey, that are committed to this integration, this balance, this marriage of the divine union and masculine, so that it might manifest in the world, and we might have peace and love and the beauty that is potential between relationships between man and woman.
Oh, 100%, my friend. I feel you are being clearly, deeply divinely guided to this experience, to this initiation. And the phrase that comes to my mind, Miguel, when you talk about this is you spoke of integration, and I also hear embodiment. Where in the indigenous cultures, when you go through a near-death experience, a retreat, a life-changing, a life-threatening challenge, however you want to describe it in general terms, you are different on the other side of that journey. Yeah, man. So I think I get to be the cheerleader here today, my little Sagittarius, with the pom-poms going, you can do it. You can do it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that word embodiment really did it as well, Lou. Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's just it. Yeah, it's just kind of taking it deeper into my body.
Yeah, and carrying it more consciously, into your daily life and your writing, your teaching, your work, etc. Yeah, I mean, I share so much of what you're saying here, brother. I'm just so value our connection, and how similar things look from what you're describing to my experiences. in you know, chatting with people like Alexandra Wedman and Sarah Williams and other teachers, you know, that I connected with in the UK and other places, the last couple months, you know, everyone has been saying, and this has been my experience too, we are being driven to our core. You know, we are being demanded, it is being demanded of us, not asked, that we really know what the hell we're talking about and how to put it into practice.
Yeah.
You know? As you said before we got on here, nothing to hide and living our authentic self and being naked before the world, you know, is the phrase that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's the place of power.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that, you know, we all carry a piece, don't we? You know, we all carry a piece of what is, you know, and nothing is greater or less than, or it's all just as important. And that, yeah, there is something very beautiful about that. You know, we're all kind of like little pieces of the jigsaw or something that each with a different journey home, if you like, you know, and a different teaching and a different sharing and a different experiences. But at the same time, it's all the same. It's all that, you know, we're all living different versions of the same story, and all roads lead to Rome and all that sort of stuff, you know, or in this case, all roads lead to Santiago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautifully said. And it's like we can sit and wait for death and darkness and the shadow and fear to come to us, or we can get on our horse and go out and fucking find it, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're really doing that. I'm thinking of like Dances with Wolves. Do you know where in the beginning he just charges towards the enemy and you know, just throws himself open to whatever happens, and miraculously he survives, and that's what inspires everyone else to charge the lines. Or you know, just so many stories. The Mission, you know, where De Niro is the slave trader and he wants to save his soul, so he climbs the mountain with all this armor on his back. And you know, these are powerful initiations we're talking about here, life-changing.
Yeah, it does, you know, to an extent. It feels as if I have heeded the call to adventure. You know, I was kind of feeling life was just a bit ploddy and a bit, you know, and I was kind of, fed up of, fed up, strange words, fed up of being sat in a room by myself with a computer, you know, and beautiful as the virtual connections are, you know, there was something about, it's all very well, Miguel, talking about walking the path of the sacred masculine. Now it's time to step up and physically walk that path and get out into the world, you know, and everything's just aligned just right, you know. It's I still plan to do some of my, you know, to do my one-to-one sessions while I'm on the Camino. You know, we have these mobile phones, these little computers, so I can still do that. And I've been
You'll be sitting there in a hailstorm, you know.
Yeah. I've been working, you know, towards becoming more of a digital nomad, and that I can do my work, you know, from anywhere.
Of course.
And so that's kind of arisen. And
yes,
you know, at the end of that relationship, it was just like, okay, so there are no strings attached. It's time for my inner relationship. And also my sons, you know, I have a 25-year-old son and a 19-year-old son, and they've just got to this place where they physically don't need to come and stay with me anymore, you know, from a sort of giving their mom a rest. They're both kind of pretty settled in their work, and you know, they're a piece steady. So I don't physically need to be up the road from them anymore. So everything's just aligned as, you know, it's that, okay, now it's, they talk about this, don't they, in other spiritual traditions. I think maybe the sort of Indian tradition, you know, once you've brought up your children and stuff, then there's a whole new layer and a whole new depth and a whole new beginning of, you know, it's like we've got all that life experience behind us. Now, you know, it's time to
give yourself to God, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
sure thing. Let me help you. You're nearly there. Yeah, you know,
it's that, you know, and you know, I make no bones about it, there has been an awful lot of suffering and pain in my story, and challenge, and you know, and but it's, yeah, I've fucking worked hard, you know. I've worked hard, and you know, especially recently, deep in that commitment to commit to service,
Yes.
you know, to the collective, which is only of any value if I do my own work, if I go to those dark places within myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now's the time to start reaping the rewards. It's like, you know, it's like we've had all that training in life. Now it's time to sort of like, okay, so how do I now, you can probably help me with the words again, like you're doing very well at that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the kind of like, it's been, yeah, it's almost like it's like the education, you know. I've been through the education, now I've graduated, now it's time to go into the world with what I've learned and what I've
Exactly.
experienced,
That's
you
it.
know, from it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. I mean, that's beautifully said. It's you know, yeah, the Hindu tradition is you have your family, you have your business, make your household, you take care of everyone, they're grown up. Now it's time for you to deepen your connection to the Almighty, however you choose to practice that. And you go and you do your inner work for the rest of your life. And then you become a wise elder. And you have that courage and wisdom and insight and humor and humility and pain to draw from, so that, like you say, so that you have you know, a fountain to help other people who are hungering and thirsting after wisdom and knowledge to really get something that is valuable, you know.
Yeah, and you know, isn't it? It's that honoring of the eldership, and that you know, that whole thing of, when you become an elder, you have so much to give, you know, as opposed to the way that our society is, that, you know, for the most part, you know, people, you know, mark it all by, oh, the retirement from their work, you know, they retire, which is a crazy word in itself, like, and then, you know, and then generally it's like they sit in front of the TV and, you know, or read the newspaper or play golf, or, you know, and it's like, but what a waste of the resources that is, you know. That is when the elders, but I guess that's okay. So I'm working this out as I'm speaking it,
Yeah.
but that's only the case if you've done your work, isn't it? Because otherwise those elders are still, if you haven't done your work and you've just distracted yourself with busyness and, you know, the world, then you're still just a little boy in a man's body, doesn't matter how old you are. So you
Right.
really have nothing to give back anyway, which perhaps is why they end up, you know, reading the newspaper and playing golf, because on some level they really know that they don't really have anything to give.
Yes. Well, and you know, you're bringing me back to the Martin Sheen film, you know, where he starts off playing golf, and then he finds out his son has died, and so he gets on the airplane and goes to the Camino, and he decides to walk the Camino in his son's memory, as you know. And at the end of the film, he's not going back. You know, he's not going back to the golf club and the country club and the newspaper. He's got his sexy scarf on, and he's walking the streets of Morocco feeling like you know, Lawrence of Arabia or something, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, watch out for Miguel in a sexy scarf, eh?
Yeah, it's coming, I'm sure. I've no doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, brother, you know, your book was beautiful, so heartfelt, so vulnerable. You led us deeply into your soul's journey. It really means the world to me to stay connected and to become, you know, friends more and more as we know each other, and cheer each other on, and share our joys and our sorrows, of which we know there will be many. But yeah, it's kind of, I have to say, Miguel, it's really a poignant moment. You know, Abraham, in a quote recently, they said, "You've been getting ready for this time for thousands of lifetimes." And, you know, if that doesn't knock you to your knees, I don't know what could. And it really feels that way to me, you see.
Yeah.
I really have this sense, like, wow, so there's a big tsunami of change coming in the world, and I'm called on to help somehow, and I better know what I'm talking about, and I better be able to do what I promise. And you know, it's kind of like dress rehearsal before opening night. That's what I relate to as an ambitious young actor, you know, which is like, this thing is going to happen, man. There's no doubt about it. And you know, for whatever cosmic reason, you're being put on notice that you're a conscious part of it, and your commitment is deeply needed and wanted. That's how I feel about all of us that have been walking this path in this lifetime.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure. That resonates, Lou. Yeah, it is happening. You know, it is happening, and I feel that there's more insight around that is arising in me as well, of this, that so if we're using some of the beautiful metaphors from the films, the movies, then what arises for me is the Lord of the Rings, where, you know, where Aragorn and Legolas and everything, you know, they're holed up in Helm's Deep, and there's that massive orc army, and the Uruk-hai are all outside, and they're massively outnumbered.
Right.
And it's that, how can we, you know, how are they going to get out of this one? And there's that, and then, you know, totally unexpected, Gandalf the White appears on the horizon, and it's like, you know, it really feels like that for me, that, you know, if we look at this stuff with what we can comprehend with our mind, it's like, how on earth do we get ourselves out of the mess that we have got ourselves into? It's not, it's that quote, isn't it, that you can't solve a problem at the same level of consciousness that created it.
Yes.
So there's this point that we do our work, and we prepare, and we do this kind of dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
We also deepen our faith in knowing that, you know, that the shift that will come is beyond what we can comprehend with our current minds. You know, with that, we don't have a frame of reference for what is coming. And the worst case scenario is that we just become our best possible selves, because in these times of crisis and in these times of challenge, and vulnerability and so on, it brings closeness, and we become the best versions of ourselves in order to deal with the adversity and the challenges that there are. So the worst case scenario is it just brings us together, and it just forces us to, you know, to really be our best, and to become more compassionate for those that are suffering, and so on. And you know, and the best case scenario is that is just a preparation to something, you know, a bridge, a void, beyond the veil that we just can't comprehend at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what arises within me, that, you know, if you look at it from just a human egoic mind perspective, you're going to get really depressed and really sort of feel really hopeless and you know, overwhelmed by it. But when we remember the soul picture, that we are, you know, that we are immortal souls, and even if, you know, all of humanity is no longer here, you know, it's an illusion anyway. That's the illusion that birth and death are the beginning and end of something, like, you know. So it's a win-win, really. The way I see it is a win-win when we come at it from a soul, deeper, buzzard, floating in the sky, looking down on the big picture of what is really happening, you know.
A God's eye view.
Yeah.
That's the one I like there. That's brilliant. No, I mean, I've said this many times. Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings are training manuals for the future from the past.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way it feels to me. And you know, as you say, the no matter what the challenges are, if we listen to, trust, and follow our loving inner guidance, and we know how to quiet the mind and find peace in our hearts, and come back to center and give ourselves to the unknown and the unknowable, then somehow, you know, we get born again as the saying goes. We get renewed, and things happen that weren't there when the problem was created, you know.
Yeah. And so much of that, it seems to me, it's arising for me as well of just of, you know, because there's all this sort of talk about, you know, the goddess and the feminine energy and so on, and it's like, yeah, you know, that makes perfect sense. It feels totally right, because there's been such an imbalance of masculine and feminine, and living in a patriarchal, guided, distorted masculine sort of like energy world.
Yes.
Then, you know, and a massive part of that feminine, which we now need to almost focus more on that right now, you know, more being and less doing, more of the inner world and less of the outer world.
Yes.
Because, you know, because that dropping into being and trusting and faith and not having it all worked out with the mind and so on, there's some alchemical key in that. There's some mysterious, you know, sort of like magic thing out of Harry Potter or something, that I'm just feeling that as well. That is part of this voice that keeps coming up in me. Just trust, Miguel, relax, let go, just be in the moment, just keep surrendering, just keep letting go.
Yes.
Keep allowing life to hold you.
Yes.
And stop having to work it all out, and, you know.
Yes. Oh, you're singing my song, my friend, honest to God. You know, to hear that still small voice within, and to respect it and trust it, you know. Trust is everything.
Yeah.
Who we trust, why we trust, how deeply we trust. You know, we're always trusting or not, you know, or trusting something or not trusting something. And here's the quote that came up through me a few days ago, because this really relates. That's what I was scrolling here. It says, "You are the answered prayer of all your ancestors who are watching over you, praying for you, blessing you, and cheering you on. Be at peace, all is well."
Yeah. Oh man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We are never alone. This illusion of aloneness, which again does, you know, that's very current for me as well. You know, this illusion and this sense of sometimes feeling pretty alone and a little isolated and stuff. And it's like, no, just stay with this, Miguel. Just stay with this. Something. It's like the pressure of bearing it and being with it you know, something will burst through.
Sorry.
Something will burst through with that, you know. It's just to stay with it. We live in this world of instant gratification, but it just feels like I just need to stay with this illusion of aloneness and separation, and, you know, and stuff, which is current for me. But I'm kind of feeling it and aware of it, and at the same time I know it's not true, you know, and I know it's a kind of red herring. It's a decoy of the ego or something, you know.
You know, yes, I do. I did a session with a woman earlier today, and the card that came up for her overall in the reading after the other cards was retreat. And, you know, retreat is the initiation that we go through in, let's say, the mystery schools or studying with a shaman, where he says, "Lou, Miguel, you know, you've achieved, you've done well with the studies. Now it's time for graduation. We're going to take you out into the wilderness, and we're going to leave you without anything for 3 nights and 3 days. And maybe you get bit by the rattlesnake, and maybe we toss you into the water where you can't see the land, or maybe we just put you down in the hole and let you fast and pray and cry and scream for 3 days. But whatever we do, it's an initiation. And on the other side of that, you're a warrior." You see, and your poem, I mean, I also deeply related to this. You spoke about a warrior. What was your poem just recently? Warrior.
There was Warriors of the Heart.
Yes.
I wrote recently.
And I have a song called Warrior of Love. Yes. So again, we're twin sons of different mothers, and it's that goodness, beauty, and truth. It's that courage and righteousness, and the sacred within us, which all of us have, but few of us are willing to surrender to it or strive to embody it or to share it. It's a big challenge, because we have to let go of the other parts that don't honor that sacredness. So that's the initiation that we go through, and on the other side of it, we have a voice, and we've taken our authority and power to teach these truths in the world. That's what gives us license.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you again, Lou. Yeah, it's really validating, to be having this conversation, because as I say, I don't really read or anything, or it's just kind of trusting what seems to be arising within me and kind of following a kind of inner guidance. And so it's really, interesting, to kind of like hear, oh yeah, well, this is this is, in many ways, this is the path that has been laid out by many spiritual traditions,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
Amazing times, huh?
It's something else, it really is. It's powerful.
Yeah. And if I could say that, if for yourself, and if anybody that wants to join me on my pilgrimage, it's probably going to take 40 days. It's about 40 days is what they suggest, walking between 10 and 25 miles a day.
Well, that's a cosmic number, as you know.
Yeah. So and my intention is to upload a short vlog each day, do a little daily vlog onto my Facebook Live, and I have a GoFundMe page.
Great.
I'm raising money for a UK charity called Unseen, which are they work against human slavery and human trafficking.
Wow.
It felt to me, one of the real key pillars for me of sacred masculinity is the flipping of this masculine energy that has been used as power over, and to rape, and to to abuse women, and to not take care of the children.
Yeah.
Sacred masculine is that, for me, is that protective and caring, and using that that physical strength to protect and to honor those that are not so physically strong.
Sure.
So that that charity just really kind of like resonates for me, because it is about, I know that there are also men are victims of modern slavery and so on.
Sure.
But particularly what touches my heart is that we live in a world where women and children are trafficked, and I was looking at a map of Unseen that shows there are slaves, modern slaves, in every county in Britain. It's not something that's distant.
Wow.
There could be, they could just be up the road from you. And
I did not know.
And they're struggling to the charity is struggling to raise enough funds to keep the telephone helpline open, the UK modern slavery helpline open. So that's what the money will go towards, keeping that, so that there is a point where people who are can ring in and say help.
Great. We'll put those links with the video here.
Thank you, Lou.
Of course. Sure, man. Yeah. I've supported J.K. Rowling's group called Lumen, Lumen, which is also an anti-trafficking organization.
Right. Yeah.
I
don't want to live in a world, and I don't, where that is happening, and I don't believe that we need to. It's time to evolve. It's time to go beyond that. We have the potential to be living in heaven on earth here, and it's time for change. And so this is again just one little drop in the ocean that actually maybe is the whole ocean as well as the drop, sort of thing.
Sure. Well, yeah. Brilliant. So tell us where people can find you and support your work.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, I mean, there's a page on my website, migueldean.net, which I think, I can't remember what it's. I think it's called, what's it called? Yeah, the Camino pilgrimage. It's called,
Okay.
where there's lots of information. There's a few articles that I've written. There's one on Elephant Journal. They're all links to those of why I'm doing why I've been called to do this pilgrimage. There's, the GoFundMe link and the links to the charity and so on. They're all on there.
Great.
And yeah, please, connect with me on my Facebook page, Miguel Dean Sacred Masculine. That's I don't do any other social media.
Okay.
Just one is enough for me. But yeah, you can connect with me there, and you can follow my journey.
Brilliant. And when do you start your pilgrimage?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, Lou, because again, that's important. I set off on the spring equinox on the 21st of March. I've chosen to leave on that day.
Okay,
great. Which means that I will arrive in Santiago around Beltane, which of course is the time of the union of the masculine and feminine, the fertility and so on. So it's and just by chance this year, Good Friday falls on my birthday, so I shall be having my birthday on Good Friday, and walking through this Catholic country, where all the sort of powerful Catholic celebrations will be taking place, as I'm walking the Camino.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a pleasure, my friend, as always. I salute you. I love you. I am grateful that you're in this world with us. Yeah. Thank you for your time here today.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, thank you. It's been, thank you for the invitation. It's been a very hearty conversation for me. There's been some beautiful realizations and deepenings. So thank you so much for that, and thank you to anybody who chooses to watch and listen. And blessed be, hey, blessed.
Yes, be. Yes. We'll. I'm sure we'll meet again shortly. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like that. In fact, I want to talk to you about that when we finish recording this. Let's have
just bring me on Messenger if you like after I log off here.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Lots of love, Lou.
You too, Miguel. Here's to you.
Yeah. Lots of love.
Thank you.